So again, everyone, welcome to Audit Your Revit MEP Projects with Ideate Explorer. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software, and thank you for joining me today for this short 30-minute presentation on the benefits of auditing your Revit projects with Ideate Explorer. And the focus of this presentation is going to be on MEP projects, but I want to be clear that no matter what discipline you use, whether it's architecture or engineering, structural engineering, mechanical, I think these tips are going to be useful to you. My background, you might have seen this slide flip by, but real quickly, my background is in architecture. I was fortunate enough to be one of the original employees at Revit Technology back over 20 years ago. And then I worked at Autodesk for 12 years, and I was one of the Revit product managers for about 5 years. I've worked for Ideate Software for a little over 5 years as well. Feel free to connect with me after the presentation if you want to have any additional questions, or you just want to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'd be happy to do that. So you see all my social media contact information for Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So Ideate Software is all about simplifying your Revit data challenges. We create 5 add-on solutions to Revit. And you see there on the screen, Ideate BIM Link, Ideate Explorer, Ideate Sticky, Ideate Apps, and Ideate Style Manager. And so today we're going to be focusing on Ideate Explorer. Now, a little bit about Ideate Software, the company, just real quickly. We have, we're really known for our excellent support all around the world. We have both in-product help information as well as online help information. And so I'll be referencing that quite a bit throughout the presentation as well. All of our solutions have getting started guides. We are supporting on the last 4 releases of Revit. So that's Revit 2018 through Revit 2021. So that if you go to our website, you download the latest, you'll see that it's supporting on all 4 of those versions. We do have versions that go back further, but of course those are sort of, they've been historically sort of stopped the development of 2017 and earlier, but they're still available for you if you want to, or if you need to have earlier releases. We have substantial content, so not only do we have the software, but we have things like rules and sample files that go with our software, and so that's really important to get you up and running very quickly and being productive. And then, of course, we're testing our solutions with hundreds of customers all around the world, and we are certainly in this new environment where everyone's sort of working remotely. A lot of people are using BIM 360. We've ensured that our solutions are compatible with BIM 360 when it comes to, let's say, saving data or importing data, that we can use the desktop connector where it's appropriate with BIM 360. So with that, like I said, we're here to talk about Ideate Explorer and auditing your Revit models. So Ideate Explorer is a model browser as opposed to a project browser. And so what do I mean by that? Well, the project browser in Revit is very powerful, but it only shows you things that potentially could be in the model. For instance, you may load 20 different types of air terminals for your model, but that doesn't mean all 20 different types are used, right? So the Ideate Explorer model browser shows you every element and every instance of information in your project. And it's going to show you so much more than the project browser. And we're going to review all of that, but we've got, CAD files, even model lines, detail lines, text notes, and text annotations, things that just aren't shown or easily available within the project browser. And then in addition to being able to select items by, let's say, their category, family, and type, we can drill down a little bit deeper. And we can search and sort items based on any parameter, both instance and type parameters. So in this case, you see on my screen here, I've got air terminals where I'm looking at the flow of the air terminals, and I'm also getting a count of those terminals that are in my project. So again, remember, we're looking at the instance data in the element instance data within the project. So we're always giving you a count as well. And then in addition to the query, we also have warnings. And this is critically important when you audit your Revit project. Warnings can can potentially corrupt the model. They can certainly impact the performance. So it's very important that you review and fix warnings on a daily basis. And the warning manager within Revit has some serious limitations. It's not resizable. You can't sort of interact with elements while it's open. It's sort of clunky, I guess, if I could use the right word. Maybe it gets the job done, but it's hard to use. So we've made this much easier, much more flexible, and we're also giving you the ability to rank the warnings. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes too. So our agenda today is to give you some highlights of Ideate Explorer when auditing your Revit models. So what we're going to do is just show you how you can take a quick sort of health check, blood pressure check of the model by getting you counts of elements. We're going to review that you can look at work sets and assign those work sets very easily. And going to give you an idea of how you can look at model or detail lines, and this is also true for like text notes and so forth. CAD imports, whether that's MicroStation, whether it's AutoCAD, DXF, those are really important to understand how they're being used within the Revit model, because again, they can seriously impact performance as well as object styles, line styles, patterns that kind of creep into your project. So it's important to really review and audit those as well. And then we're going to show how Ideate Explorer can review sheets and views using the Navigate tab. And then finally, we'll wrap up with showing you the Warnings tab and how important it is to review your warnings. And again, in the short time that we have, these are just a very high level overview, and all of these have more details on our website. If you'd like to have a specific video on this, I would encourage that. So let's take a quick spin. I'm going to switch over here to Revit. Today, I'm using the latest version of Revit, which is Revit 2021. But as I said, we support the last 4 releases of Revit here. So if you're not familiar with Ideate software, all of the Ideate software solutions are available on the Ideate software ribbon panel. So when I click over here to Ideate software, you'll see all the solutions. Ideate apps is a collection of 9 tools. So the orange and light blue tools are the Ideate apps, but everything else you'll see here, the Style Manager, Sticky Explorer, and BIMlink are sort of the major solutions. So if you select on Ideate Explorer, this menu is going to appear, right? And it's going to, by default, be set to the active view. Now, this menu, you'll see as I'm working, is non-modal, meaning that I can work in the Revit model. I can have this on a separate screen. I can actually have this floating while I work, which is really nice and important. So here's what I was talking about, the real quick health check. In this 3D view, I have 3,576 elements, right, in this 3D MEP view. But if I switch over here to the display and I say, well, I'd like to look at the entire project. Well, now I have 17,369. And as it's now being sorted by category, you can see that I have air terminals, cable trays, conduits, data devices. And in any one of these, it's organized by category, then the family, then the type, then the instance. Right? So I have 61 of these plain data outlets. At any time, I can double click to go to that view, and then I can select one or more items. So now I've got that selected, right, by hitting the little tick mark there. If I go to the top level node, I can then tick this and basically select all 61. And you'll notice that this 61 is shown in the lower right of the Explorer window, but it's always shown on the Revit filter selection as well. Those will always match. So this gives me the ability now to, once I select items, I can say, well, you know what, that data outlet, I have a new improved data outlet that is Wi-Fi enabled through my SmartThings. It has a USB connection as well, so I'm going to change that information. So now I've updated all those data devices to have a new data outlet that is the Wi-Fi USB enabled, and now all of those instances have that. And so when I edit the type here, you see that I've Taylor Industries, the fact that it's Wi-Fi enabled through SmartThings, and I've added some other data. It's switched all that very easily. So again, when you're auditing your Revit models, you can highlight things and you can swap components very easily. So let's zoom back out of this a little bit. And now that was, again, as I said, by family, category, and type. But there are times where you need to know a little bit more information about that. So if I select on air terminals, I've got 154 air terminals in this project. I'm going to now use my query And here is where I can sort and search by the parameter values, both instance and type. Now you saw, like with type parameters, I can pretty easily switch the elements. So I thought it would be more relevant to search for an instance parameter here, because that might be on multiple, across different air terminals. So I've got one here, the pressure drop. I'm going to click on pressure drop, and it's going to give me the different pressure drops that I have. And in fact, I have 121 of this 0.02, I have 32, and I have 1. I might even need to clarify that a little bit more. So I'm going to clear the pressure drop here, and I'm going to go over to the family, and I'm going to use you see down below here, it says use control to select up to 3 properties. So when I do control and hit family, it actually now sorts and shows the pressure drop as we saw earlier, but it also shows the family. And so that may split it out a little bit more. And I realized that, oh, this is the one I want to update. All of these that are in this face thin mount, there's 26 of them. 0.06, I realized needs to be updated to 0.04. So I'm going to select those. And basically now the display changes to current selection. And it has all of them in the current selection here. And you'll notice that I can come over here now, and in the pressure drop over in the properties palette, I'm going to switch this to 0.044 and say apply. So now I've updated the data on all, what did I say, there was 32 or 26 of those. So let's clear that. Let's switch back to the entire project. Let's go back to the air terminals again and just show you the query, and come over here to the pressure drop again. And we'll do, let's say here, my pressure drop. And just to show you that those values, of course, were updated. Now we've got 0.02, 4, 6, and that the 26 is what I've updated there. So again, this is really nice to be able to search for almost any element based on any particular parameter or characteristic. Now, so far, we've been reviewing this by, as I said, category, family, and type. But we can sort by default on so many different things, by level, by phase, by room, space, zone. I thought this would be nice to show you how you can sort by work set. So I've got the work set in this MEP file organized by electrical, lighting, mechanical, plumbing, right? So if I go over here to lighting, as an example, I see lighting devices, fixtures, air terminals. That's wrong. So I want to click on air terminals, and I can quickly change this over to mechanical and say apply. Then I'm going to look at that again, and I'm like, okay, we've got plumbing. Plumbing has sprinklers, plumbing fixtures, pipes, pipe fittings, HVAC zones. That's wrong. So let's do again. Let's select the HVAC zones, and we're going to switch that from the plumbing work set over to the mechanical work set and hit apply. So now when I look at that, everything's been organized. Now my HVAC zones are under mechanical. I've got lighting, I've got electrical, cable tray, conduits, data devices. So, I can use the work sharing display mode within Revit, but I find this to be quicker, and it's very easy to see things that are miscategorized on the wrong work set by reviewing the information this way. And like I said, this works for level, phase, and so there's lots of other examples here that you can sort by. So I'm going to switch this back to category here, look at the entire project again. And what we're going to do is also review some information based on the filters. Now you saw that we've got sort by, a display that I've been showing you. Every filter that you have within Revit is displayed within Ideate Explorer. So just to show you this, if I wanted to go to show the hydronic supply, I could filter out those elements that are part of the hydronic supply, like all of the different 164 pipe fittings, and review that. Now, with filters, we also include our own called Ideate Audit. When I click on that, these are categories or elements that we think you should take closer attention to, and you should review these on a daily or weekly basis at the very least. And review things like CAD imports and lines and levels, and just make sure that they are categorized and they are correct. So in this case with lines, the project browser is not going to show you lines. And if you've ever gone to a detail view and you say, click on the line, you say, select all instances, it's not possible. So here's a great way for me to select all these lines. Like this one's 0. I'm pretty sure this came in from AutoCAD. This too fine medium doesn't match my standards, so I've just selected 149 lines. And I'm going to switch that over to the A detail. Come over here, A detail medium. And once I do that, now there are no instances on that 0. So that 0 doesn't display, neither does the other line style that I had. And so I can start to really categorize these and get rid of line styles that are not being used or not meeting my standards. So I wanted to show you this example, but the same thing is true, whether it's lines, whether it's text notes, those types of things. I can review keynote tags and so forth. Now, another really important piece of information is CAD imports. I've got 100 CAD imports in this project, and I can expand on these. And again, just like everything in Explorer, you can double click. If the view isn't open, it's going to open up the best view for that particular file. And in fact, if I click on it, it's actually, again, highlighting it. And it's kind of hard. I changed the highlight to red, but you can see that the CAD file is basically in red behind here. So that seems like it's reasonable being used. Let's look at this one. If I double click, oh wait, it's hidden. Ideate Explorer knows that it's hidden. So I say, you know what? I would like to turn on reveal hidden elements in that particular view, because that may be a mistake. Maybe that shouldn't have been displayed there. So now I've got that, and I can say, you know what? That was definitely a mistake. I did not want to have this be hidden in this view. So what I can do right here from the Explorer dialog, I can select Ideate Delete. And so it's going to delete that CAD file that's been hidden and get rid of it. So, even if it's not displayed, sometimes people will go and right-click, hide in view, and then they forget about it. It's a good way to be able to find these CAD files and be able to remove them if they're not being used. So now I've got this file. Like I said, I know that this view is clean and it doesn't have any unnecessary CAD imports. So far, I've been focusing on Explore tab, but I'm going to switch over here to the Navigate tab. Navigate allows you to navigate to views, schedules, legends. So under schedules, if we wanted to go to our panel schedules, my branch panel schedules, I can go over here and double click and again, activate that our panel schedule. If you want to go under schedules, you'll notice it's nicely organized by the quantities or the schedule type, air terminals, HVAC zones, plumbing fixtures, rooms. So, if I wanted to look at all my air terminal schedule, I can go and do that very easily just by opening up that view. Another really nice thing with Navigate, it's showing you views that are organized either on a sheet or not on a sheet. So you can audit this and make sure that you have all the views necessary. If there's one, maybe a stray view that you didn't realize that's not on a sheet. So in this case, I can select these sections, right? And I can double click on the section, as you've been seeing, to open up the view. But because it's on a sheet, I can right click and I can open up the sheet that contains that particular view as well. So I can, again, audit and then make sure that my views and my sheets are matching where I need that to be. When it comes to schedules, we're also showing the schedule view, but the schedule graphics as well, like meaning, so you can kind of match up. The schedule graphics is the schedule as it's displayed on the sheet. And so we're showing both of those that you can review and again, audit to make sure that those are matching and that you're not missing a schedule on a sheet somewhere. Okay, the final sort of auditing review is this tab for warnings. If I click on warnings, it's going to give me the list of 166 warnings that I have. It uses the same sort of methodology, right? I can sort by the type of warning or I can sort by elements that have warnings. I like doing it by types. And then you also have the ability to filter on different types like high, medium, or low ranked warnings. So like in this case, no loss defined. Maybe for what I'm reviewing as an example, I'm not really concerned with that. So what I can do is right click and I can say hide that. So those 83 items are not counted as part of my overall warnings. Now I go down to 83. Then I can look at something like, let's say not this one here. If I look at this one that has 5 elements, which I kind of like, and I'm going to switch over here to my views. And I'll just I like doing this in a 3D view. And so I can double click, just like you saw me do anything else, right? And I can go right to the heat pump here that's displayed. But I can also do a control select. So I'm selecting the mitered elbows here. Oops. And oops, I'm hitting shift. There we go. And I can select on all of those. And then I like doing this section box which is giving me a section box around the elements, and I can review that information, and I can see that in this case, like it's not possible to calculate the flow because it's direction mismatch. So I can look at this particular system and fix that within Revit. If it's a fairly simple warning, like in this case, if I go here, there are identical instances, I'm going to again select on the control, and I'm going to use that section box, and I can see where that that item is. There's that side vent. Basically, it's an air terminal, right? And it looks like there's two in the same place. Well, that was, pretty much a mistake. So I can right click and I can say, you know what? I want to either retain the originals or retain the latest. So I know the original one is the one I wanted. It got copied by mistake. So I can now just delete the ones that are the duplicate. And now that warning goes away. So you notice one of my alert went away because I have no longer any high ranked warnings within my model. And so you're probably asking me, well, Richard, how do you know what is high, medium, or low ranked warnings? And that's completely customizable. If you go to this manage, you have the ability to basically set this for your office standards, and everyone can share the same file, and you can rank it by high, medium, or low warnings. We give you a couple samples to start out with that has about 60 or 70 warnings that have been ranked as we feel, and based on our knowledge of warnings, what we feel is high, medium, and low. But there actually is 915 warnings that are defined within the Revit model that you can go and specify all of those. And you'll also notice that we've created a threshold. I've created a threshold of 100 warnings per 100 megabyte file, which allows me 30 warnings. And if you look here, I've got 82. That's why I have this second alert icon, because it's basically saying, hey, Richard, you've gone over the threshold that your firm has set for the warnings. So just to show you, obviously the important thing is to fix those warnings. But if I double this to 200 warnings, now I go to 61 and I'm still not there. So let's just say 300. That gets me. So now my 82 is under the 92 warnings that I've set. So if I'm just changing this value here just to show you as an example. So if I say save, now I'm under my threshold and that other alert icon goes away. So the goal is, once your company sets what you feel is a proper threshold, and also goal as far as what is high, medium, and low ranked warnings, the goal for your users is to have no alert icons here, right? So that means that only warnings would be medium or green or low, or and your threshold would be set to something that's under what you've set for the firm. Also, what you can do here is you can filter. If you always want to go back to those hidden warnings that I did, you can filter it. That was that no loss defined. But I can switch this back to, low ranked warnings and review them, or review the medium ranked warnings. So that's really nice to be able to review that information. And again, like I said, it's so important to audit and understand these warnings because they can really impact the performance of the Revit model. So I'm going to switch back over here to my main presentation. And I just wanted to kind of highlight again that for those of you that aren't familiar with the warnings interface within Ideate Explorer, we're using the same paradigm that we have for the Explore tab as well as the Navigate tab. But we're using the display, the sort by, the filter that I showed you, and then we're giving you information about the element, again, who created it, who last updated it, as well as the Revit element ID. So what we did today, again, in a very short period of time, hopefully I just whetted your appetite with some things you can do with Ideate Explorer, is that you can scan quickly for element counts. You can see how many elements you have within your model of any particular Revit element itself, category, family, type. You can review work set assignments as well. We showed you how you can just audit for detail lines, but again, it's the same whether it's detail lines or text or CAD files. It's really important to be able to review that. And then the Navigate tab allows you to understand your sheets and views and legends and schedules and make sure that everything's basically where it's supposed to be, but also that you're matching, let's say, the schedules with the schedule graphics on the sheet. And then finally, the warnings tab, being able to review and audit all of those warnings in a very easy manner that allows you to fix those warnings and review the information and see the elements that contain the warnings. So we're almost at the top of the hour, but I see that there's some questions. Sash, do you want to highlight any particular questions?
Sure, Richard. Actually, there's maybe two things I'd like to highlight. Maybe I can have you do a quick demo of something back in Revit that I always like to show the MEP folks, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I trust
And
you.
you're in a perfect view for that. So one of the things that can come up sometimes, especially on like the mechanical side of things, is mechanical equipment that is specified or designed to have inputs and outputs that are directional. So you may have inputs on one side and outputs on another. And one of the things that you could run into are people bringing in equipment from manufacturers and then flipping them or mirroring them. And one of the things I always like to do is check to see if any of the equipment's been flipped or mirrored, and then compare that against the manufacturer information. So in this example, I'll have Richard select all the mechanical equipment. So there should be some here, which
Yep.
there's 32.
Yep.
And then, yep, go ahead.
And then flipped. Is that what you're showing?
You got it. So look to see if the facing is flipped, right? So if you click on that, we're looking to see that there's 5 pieces of equipment that were brought in and flipped. So then he could essentially look at the handing as well. And you can see over here the differences in all of them, right? So in this case, we have some that have their facing flipped, those 5 right there. So then he could select those and isolate those elements in the 3D view and say, hey, are those elements, have they actually been flipped, which in this case they have been, and have a closer look to see if that has any effect on the project. So, if you're specifying a boiler, for example, that has inputs in one area and outputs in another, but somebody brought it in and flipped it and designed it differently, and then you specified it per the manufacturer, then you may have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a nice way to look at that.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the heat pump, or actually there's 4 heat pumps that got flipped in this particular case.
Exactly. So is that a big deal? It may or may not be, but that's one thing to look for. And then we did get a question in the queue regarding deleting like imported CAD files. Will it delete everything from the model? Not delete everything, but will it delete all the CAD information related to that import? And maybe you want to touch on that for a moment, Richard?
Yes, and so if you've linked or imported the CAD file in to Revit, right, and you haven't done anything to it, it will delete. But most people have done either a partial explode or a full explode. Once you do a partial explode, then you start getting things like this in your view visibility, this medium blocks.dwg. And then even by deleting the CAD file itself, these things can remain. And so that you have to clean those up. And we do have another product, Style Manager, allows you to very easily look at imports. For instance, let's say in this case, the line styles, I can actually, no, you know what, the object styles is probably a better example because it has the imports. Notice it says imported styles. So I can look at, let's say, object styles, just those things that are imported styles, right? Like this cabinet.dwg, and I can decide whether I want to analyze that and remove that information. Like, is it being used in a particular location? So like in this case, that door cabinet, let's say, was not being used anywhere because it's 0. So I can actually now delete that, and I know that that's okay, meaning that I'm not going to impact the drawing or the model. And let's see, in this particular case, okay, this one, actually, there was one instance of this DWG used. In this case, it was used in this import instance, right? And so it's showing me exactly where that is, and then I can decide whether I want to remove that or not. So basically, the quick answer is that Ideate Explorer will remove the actual CAD import or link, but you might need Style Manager to go dig a little bit deeper into some of these styles, like object styles, line styles, patterns that might have sort of gotten brought into your project that are part of your project now that you don't want.
Yep. It's very much the same situation like in AutoCAD. If you brought in a block or did an XREF and you exploded it, and even if you delete all the actual content from the drawings, the residual data like the extra layers, any of the other additional styles that came in are still there, and so that's where Style Manager can come in and help you clean that up.
And so, you can download, if you heard me at the very beginning of the presentation, download a 14-day full function trial of Ideate Explorer. If you're not already a customer, just go to the free trial. And you can download that for 2018 through 2021 of Revit. And you can test it for yourself. And if you're an existing Ideate software customer using Ideate Explorer, hopefully you learned some new tips today about auditing your Revit projects. So I've got just a few minutes after the top of the hour. I want to thank you extremely for your time and attention today. We're always here for you. If you have questions, you can email us at either my link, or you can always email us at support@ideatesoftware.com. And you can visit our website to know a little bit more about us. So again, thank you very much. I don't think there's anything, Sash, that we need to follow.
No, I think we're good. We had one person asked if you need admin rights to install the software, and that is recommended just to make sure the install goes smoothly.
Okay, great. Well, again, signing off here. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And for those of you that are Ideate software customers, we certainly appreciate your business. Thank you.